It started with first getting the courage and the strength to leave. I found this through family and friends. They knew how unhappy I was and they encouraged me to go ahead when I made the decision. And they said that they would support me financially and that I had my daughter's place to go to, and a lot of family overseas who supported me financially as well. And my daughter made me feel safe and able to leave. The next steps also was to find information and support. My friends told me about a shelter. So through the shelter, I was able to have a half an hour interview consultation with a lawyer. And then when I finally found a lawyer to help me through the separation, she mentioned another shelter, a Portuguese-speaking shelter, Abrigo. And through them, I got a lot more services and support. And during this time, I needed mental health support to be able to rebuild. I needed the strength because when you're in a process of separation, you're in limbo. You're grieving a marriage. It's like a death and it's very hard to deal with. Then you feel lost with the separation and it's very stressful. And it was not an amicable separation. Still not over. I had to learn to live alone and to be content. And it's not easy to be alone when you have been married for 38 years and you wake up by yourself. And with COVID, it was even more isolated. And it's very, very easy to fall back and be hooked on social media and Facebook. So I saw their messages and you see people happy and of course you were miserable, so you think you're the only one miserable in the world. I had to be content with the single life. You have to discover who you are. You lose your identity in the abuse. And I had to rediscover myself, my dreams, my hopes, what I wanted to do in my life. So the process to rebuild is still going on. I'm still in the struggle, still in the fight. The legal fight is costly and it takes a lot of time. And the process it's not always straightforward. It goes up and down. Personal support, a lot of it was my faith. Praying gave me strength and hope. I needed to believe that there was light at the end of the tunnel. When you're struggling, when you're in a terrible fight against someone who is supposed to love you all your life, it's painful and feels hopeless. And changing my thinking also gave me strength. I used to think, oh, I'm 60, I'm not going to start over again, I'm going to stay in my comfort zone, but it was not actually comfortable. So I told myself that things weren't as bad. And then realizing I didn't want that life anymore. That I can live, I can be independent, and of course, through legal system, I can fight for my rights. I knew that I was eligible for a half a pension, and I could live more comfortable. And also, my 3 children were support, and my family. My daughter and my son-in-law kept telling me how strong I was, and I could do it, and that they were there for me. And they helped me through, still helping me. And I have the 2 boys also, but they're not here, but one of them has some issues supporting me, but they realized what I went through in my marriage, so they are now 100% behind me. And my daughter is there for me every day. She encourages me, she helps me with all the technical computer stuff that I'm not able to do, the attaching documents, computer skills. I'm not very computer friendly. And my sons keep contact with me over the phone, and they also kept in contact with my ex-husband, trying to steer him in the right direction. And also the group therapy. I did a couple of group therapies and they were excellent. You're with a whole bunch of women who are going through different problems, but a lot of them are worse than you, so you don't feel as alone, and you don't feel like you're the only one who's suffering in this world. And they make you look in a different way, and they open your eyes, and they guide you to find other avenues, because you get stuck in a depression and then you don't want to do anything else. But with talking to them, they all have their issues, they all have their problems, and you realize that your situation is not as bad in comparison, and that you're not alone. Well, the Portuguese shelter Abrigo that I used a lot was very helpful. I spoke to a social worker for about a year. Every month we would speak about an hour and a half, and she gave me all kinds of advice on legal matters, on pension matters, government grants, and she also gave me tips on safety and how, when I go out, to look over my shoulder. You never know what could happen after you leave a relationship. And she also helped me with my children, giving me, my oldest son was not very understanding in the beginning, and so she guided me, and she gave me ideas on how to deal with him. She was very, very respectful and non-judgmental. She recommended also the group therapies that I did, and use meditation, breathing techniques, tapping, mindfulness, behavior therapy. It helps a lot with anxiety, with lack of sleep. I think in the group therapy, all of us couldn't sleep. Well, I realized that everyone knew what was going on in my life, but nobody talked about it because I didn't share it. So I kept it private. So when I found out after the separation, I heard from my friends that they didn't want to invite me over because my ex would be with me. And it was very hard to hear. That meant I lost out on a lot of events and a lot of things in my life, even with my family. I had a brother in Montreal, and we hardly got together because of my ex-husband. And it was very painful. It was very hard to hear, and because that meant that I wasn't being thought of. I felt like I was alienated, and I was not part of a lot of things because of him. And and the other big surprise was that people told me that I was very strong, and that I was very courageous, and I didn't think I was that at all. And that another big surprise was that I didn't realize how prayer made me feel better, how it gave me hope, and kept me going. Yeah, that you're not alone, that there's a lot of help available out there. And even if you don't have family, even if you don't have friends, there are support groups that can help you and resources to help you. And there are a lot of good people out there.